I live in a very remote area in France, surrounded by nature, which forms part of every day for me, no matter what the weather. Each day, I walk the path between the studio and the house many times, and even these few yards bring me into close contact with nature. You don't need to go out into the wilderness to connect with other living things. Our ancestors knew what it was to be part of God's creation, and they celebrated it in the most practical ways, by growing food, caring for the animals which served them, and working in harmony with all aspects of nature. Nowadays, we are all suffering from a condition which has been named the extinction of nature experience, which means that young people and other people too are never experiencing any kind of connection with nature, and consequently, not only is their own health suffering, but more crucially, the destruction of the entire world ecosystem, life on Earth, is now a real prospect, which surely no thinking person can wish to be part of. I started my channel with the stated goal of bringing people into closer contact with nature via art. For me, all worthwhile art is inspired by and rooted in nature. And for the last 3 years, it's been a tremendous pleasure for me to hear from others how the simple action of drawing and painting brings them peace and pleasure. Peace and pleasure that they, you, often share with others by giving them your paintings or painting along with friends and family. This is so much more than a hobby. It's possibly the one action we can all take that might just save the world. 1 million species are on the verge of extinction right now. When will the world's population wake up and realize that no digital replacement of nature will keep them alive when there are no trees pumping out oxygen for us to breathe? So as part of my attempt to bring art into everyday life again and to connect us all with nature, my new project is to join the nature journaling movement. I make no claim to originality in this, as the movement is well established and there are many nature journaling YouTube channels to explore. I'll link to a few of my favorites in the description below. But of course, my own journal will be unique to me, as yours will be to you. I hope you'll join me and my family of animals and encourage your children and grandchildren to start their own journals too. You don't even need to go outdoors to do this. You just need the desire to connect with some aspect of nature. If you're housebound for health or weather reasons, you can have a jungle of plants indoors. You can keep fish or birds or reptiles and journal about them. You can hatch ladybirds and butterflies and release them into the wild. You can nurture and feed the birds and watch and film and photograph them through a window, even in an apartment building. With all these limited resources, you can fill a nature journal. And of course, if you can go outside, you don't need to go far. The tiniest garden can be jam-packed with nature. What matters is how you take the time to slow down and look at the smallest elements, the tiny changes, the beauty of the light and water interacting with natural materials, to connect, to reconnect with nature. So how do we get started on this journey together? The first thing, I think, is to identify the subject matter you're going to journal. You can be as general or specific as you like. My garden could be one starting point, or the veggie patch, or the big oak, or walking the dog. Whatever fits into your life as it is currently should be your starting point. I'm choosing the vegetable garden as my starting point because in our case it happens to have more going on in it than the rest of the garden at the moment in terms of flowers, because Tamsin encourages anything that wants to go to seed to do so, and then watches it grow. Hence we have pansies as well as strawberry flowers growing side by side, for example. Next, choose your journal. This is a very hard task as there are so many to choose from. I've recommended some in my shop on Amazon and also in the description below and on our website, dianeantone.com. I like the Viviva ones, but just choose one where you can do either a 2-page spread like I do, or with larger pages than mine to give you enough space. You also need a pencil, a few pens and some paints, all of which you already have. You can use coloured pencils too, or watercolour pencils. You can use a water brush or a regular brush. It's entirely up to you, of course. Now, let's get started. So now I've got my Viviva sketchbook here and I've got my paints in front of me. I'm using the Michael Harding botanical set, which I've squeezed out some of the colours from onto the Bushes tray, which I use. You can't see all of it, it's much bigger than that, but I'll be turning it round to the colour that I'm using if necessary. And so in this sketchbook, this is a page, a sort of practice page that I did yesterday. It's not got any labels or writing on it at all at the moment, although I could come in with a pen and do that. We've got apple blossom, dragonflies and butterflies, a robin, a thrush and primroses and so on and so forth, snail, pansy. And so I'm going to be doing similar sorts of things to that on the next page, which I had actually in the short from yesterday. I started that. This is an osteospermum, which is growing in the garden. This is some, I don't know, some blue stuff. And this is a little bit of very, very vaguely, roughly drawn forget-me-nots. So that's where we started. And we've got a kind of muted, mauvish kind of palette, mauvish, bluish there. And I think that's where we're going to be going. So I'm just going to quickly sharpen my pencil a little bit. Point up to a fine point, and I'm going to sit down and let's draw some of the flowers I've got in front of me. I do have a big jar of allergy there, allergy being the thing that it, you know, hay fever and all the rest of it. Let me see, I've got greater stitchwort, I've got red campion and forget-me-nots and broom there. So let's put in a twig here, which will be sort of broom. It has kind of brown colour to it, and then it's got when you start doing this kind of thing, you'll realise how little you actually look at what it is that you're doing when you do it. How much time you don't spend focusing on the details. It's not always easy because I don't know about you, my eyesight is not what it used to be, and I do have a lot of trouble with floaters. Luckily, I haven't so far got any, what do you call it? Oh gosh, can't think of the word. I haven't got any memory left. You know, when you have to have that operation where they come at you with a laser. I haven't got that yet, but I do have floaters and they are annoying. And you're kind of thinking, oh, I just want to draw with my eyes closed. But we have to be brave and go through all of that. And somehow, partly it's because the light has suddenly got so bright in here. Cataracts, that's what I was trying to think of. Cataracts. Yes, cataracts. Okay, so there we are. There's a piece of broom. This is the flower up here. And it's got sort of two bits going on there. And we'll paint that, and then I'll come over again with line. And the line is going to be Winsor & Newton sepia. This is 0.5 waterproof pen. And so that's that. And then let me see. Down here, let's have, pull a piece of forget-me-not out. I was watching somebody else doing a journal this morning, and he he actually literally drew round the plant that he actually literally put it like that and then drew round it. I've never seen that done before, I have to say. Not since I was a child. Anyway, so, but he's a very good artist and a very good teacher. I'll put a connection to him in the description below, because you might be interested in watching. He's not a big YouTube person, but he's quite a very good artist, very good artist. And let's have a couple more down here. 5 petals on this. And then it has quite a long stalk, so we'll forget about that, but it has quite big leaves. Okay, and then maybe coming down from the top, let's have some of this one. Which is called Greater Stitchwort. And how many petals has that got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And they're white, and then it has sort of yellow middle, and it has stamens coming out. So we'll do a couple of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oops, not 11. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Join them together, and then they have sort of little pointed leaves there. And then I sort of think, well, why don't we put a little butterfly down here? We can paint that in. And then I think we'll stick with this side here. And tomorrow we'll go, or not tomorrow necessarily, but soon we'll go over to that side. And so we'll move these flowers out of the way. And I'm going to start with bright colour of the broom, which is here. And it's got a bit of orange on this side. And then we've got, coming down here, we've got another yellow one here. Little jibs and jabs of yellow flowers all the way down. I'll come in with some nice green for the leaves. I know a lot of people, when they do nature journals, they start getting all very tight and accurate and botanical and so on, but I'm not going to do that because it's not my natural way of painting. So don't worry, I'm not going to suddenly tighten up on you and become anal and all the rest of it. I'm not going to do that. It's still going to be impressionistic. Everything is going to be, and I'm not only going to be doing nature journaling. I'm not pivoting my channel. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just adding something which I think people are going to enjoy. And and I am too, because I think one of the important things when you are a YouTuber is to remember that you have to stay sane. Otherwise, I'm coming in now to the leaves on the forget-me-not. You have to stay sane, otherwise you end up stopping or failing. And we are seeing a certain number of people losing the will to live. Well, not exactly quite losing the will to live, but getting that way and not really enjoying what they're doing. And I don't know why people let that happen to them, because I don't think there's a better job in the world than talking to millions of people on the internet. It can't be much better. There's nothing better than that, in my opinion. Now, this is lavender blue, which is a Holbein colour. The other colours I've used so far are Michael Harding from the Botanical set. So I'm just putting this lavender colour in for the forget-me-not. I don't know why they call it lavender. Yeah, they could have called it forget-me-not, but they didn't. Put a bit more of that colour back over here. Okay, and I think, yeah, it's got a yellow, tiny yellow centre. These little details do count, don't they? I'm looking for a grey, a mauvish kind of grey for the buds here. So there we are. That's just a combination of a few colours. I might use that colour for the butterfly. Let's do that. And then a little bit of more blue. You have to be careful with this sketchbook, because it's very absorbent, and once you're in and you're stuck. You can't do anything about changing it. Which is good and bad. There we are, there's the body. Now that one up top there, the greater stitch wart, is white. So the only way that we're going to be able to paint that is to get some grey going, maybe some pinkish grey. Use a bit of the shell pink and mix up something like that. And then I'm going to have to be very brave and paint around the outside edge of these flowers. And I'm going to have to do it fairly quickly, because as I was just saying, once you're in, you're in. And there's no getting rid of it. So you have to have a drawing first, really, unless you're very good. And you have to keep the paint moving, keep it moving. And don't worry if you get some irregular lines. At the moment, I can't actually see what I'm doing because the light is so strong all of a sudden. The sun keeps coming out. Can't complain, not complaining, but it's just not easy to paint when the light keeps changing. And there we are. So that's the flowers in white. And they have yellow centres, but what they have is they have something which I don't think I'm going to be able to paint really, because they have stamens coming out like that, yellow ones. So I'm just going to do something like that. And then we want some leaves. Some stems. Okay. So we'll be able to make these petals stand out a little bit more when we use the pen. And I'll do that one last because obviously it needs to have dried. And I'll tell you what I should do before I do that. I ought to try and get rid of just some of the... You don't have to do this. Quite often, I quite like to leave the pencil lines as well as the ink. And so you don't have to get rid of the pencil lines. But some people hate them and they think they look awful. So it's up to you, really. I'm not going to do a lot of line work on this because I think it's actually come out quite well. But it has some sort of little brown doodly things up here and here and here. So I'm not going to go over the whole thing. I'll leave it like that. And maybe a little bit of stem work. And then this one. I'll keep it very light. I think actually I'm going to swap my pen because I think that one's too fat. Okay, that was a 0.5. This is 0.1 and I think that's better. There's absolutely no compulsion to do line work. Some of mine will be with lines and some will not. Okay, so let's rub out a little bit of that. There we go. And here we are with the butterfly. Making him up as we go along. So there we are. Let's label these, shall we? This is Forget-Me-Not. This is Greater Stitchwort. And this is Broom. So there we are. That's the first effort at an H journal, and we will be developing this, as I said. And there we are. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you give it a try. And I'll let you go now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, turn on notifications and all the rest of it if you haven't already. And I look forward to seeing you here next time. So I'll say bye-bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.